Hello, it's David Perlman for Conversations at thewholenote.com. It's March the 20th, 2012. My guest is pianist Catherine Wilson. Very happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
That's great. So the immediate context for this interview is a couple of concerts coming up, one of which this interview may or may not be in time for, 27th of March at the Gould Studio with Ensemble Vivant, which is your baby.
Yes, it is.
For 1986-7, you told me.
Yes,
Yeah.
in there, it's when we first were launched, I'd say.
So who were the three people in the room where you said, okay, we've got it, now we need to find a name?
Oh, actually, the original three were
Yeah.
myself and Marie Berard on violin, and Dorothy Lawson, who has since moved to New York.
Oh, I don't know her name. I know, of course, I know Marie's name. Well, so Dorothy was the
original cellist.
The original cellist.
She is on our Palm Court Pleasures CD.
Oh, okay.
That was the threesome.
Okay. So, were you students together, or had?
Marie and I were.
Okay.
Marie and I, what am I saying? All of us were. All of us were students
And
together.
you took a deep breath and said, "Hey, we're doing it already. Let's give it a name." Or did the name come first, or the?
I think what happened was we were playing various events, and somebody labeled us the Catherine Wilson Trio.
Okay.
And I actually thought I would like to have a more generic name, and I thought of the name Trio Vivant.
Trio Vivant.
Trio Vivant. And over the years, one record company or another they called it Catherine Wilson's Trio Vivant, they called it Catherine Wilson and Friends. And then I thought, and that's fair enough, because sometimes we would expand from being a trio, and depending on the instrumentation of whatever repertoire we were working on. Examples, Swerlin Glick wrote a klezmer suite for us, and it was for five, for a quintet, and we've recorded many things like Mendelssohn's sextet, and then
Saint-Saëns septet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And in the more popular genre, something like the Charlie Chaplin medley that Rick Wilkins
And that's
wrote.
a quintet,
Yes,
right?
and there's numerous other examples, but so I thought, why not Ensemble Vivant? And it's been like that now for many, many years.
So the Ensemble Vivant goes back to 87, or that came somewhere
well, the
a
trio,
little
it
further
started
on.
off Trio Vivant, and then it went through those
morphed.
other, it morphed.
Yeah, in the way
So-
Amici didn't call themselves a trio, because it's a given that you're going to want to break out of your root formation into what's required for the pieces that you're doing.
Except when we started as Trio Vivant, we hadn't really thought of that because it was sort of Trio Vivant, and the first recording was all about more that, because we were kind of a pioneer among piano trios, in that in the late 80s it wasn't that typical to be in concert and on recording performing mainstream classical along with ragtime, along with music from the Tin Pan Alley, Gershwin and Kern and so on, and never mind other genres that were more kind of over into the jazzier worlds. And so that made us a pioneer, actually, because we were not we didn't want to be defined as just classical, because we had a feather in our cap which allowed us to switch hats stylistically.
Right.
And so I guess from our beginnings we've been quite genre diverse, which has made us quite different, and we remain genre diverse and branched into music of Astor Piazzolla, but working with gurus of the Piazzolla world who love what we do, coached us, written arrangements for us, and Julian Labro in particular was
who was the architect of your homage to Astor.
That's correct.
That's the last CD.
Our most recent release, that's right.
So were you inspired by what the Canadian brass had done at the beginning? Because I've noticed that your last 3 CDs are with Opening Day, which is Chuck Dallenbach's.
Yes, yeah.
So
I would have to say definitely that when I was a student, I was when I first heard the brass, and
right.
so I'm sure that even if not absolutely consciously, that I was indirectly and maybe partially consciously. It wasn't like, oh, I want to copy them. It wasn't like that. But it just. I'm sure, though, that it had its profound influence, and
yeah,
but it's different, of course, a brass quintet versus
sure.
a piano trio. And
I was thinking as much as anything about they've always been completely unapologetic about repertoire.
Well,
they
the brass,
do what works for them.
Yes, but there's so much classical repertoire for a piano trio,
right.
and that's what made us a pioneer because we are, I'd say that we're piano trios that were famous for doing the crossover palm court style, but they weren't on the concert stage, and they
right.
weren't making recordings, but more sort of relegated to lovely hotel lobbies and tea rooms and so on. But this is we always embraced everything, and still do, that we
right.
stylistically, that we perform with the same kind of seriousness and passion, and really good music, no matter the genre. And we have found along the way, I'm really excited that along the way there's more of a merging of the worlds for all artists, and classical artists, more embracing of the less of that former snobbery of classical that used to be, oh well, if you're not playing only classical, then you can't be a serious classical, which is, well, of course, not true. But there used to be that element, and I think it stemmed from way back, and
sure.
And it's I think that is happily loosening up and relaxing more. So
just following this thread of personnel, I mean, I remember a joke around our office at one time was, if you've got a group, that all you have to put down for the person playing the cello is cello TBA. Because of all the people in ensembles that seem to change over the most, it seems to be the person with the cello. Has it been like that for you, or not? I think
I've been extraordinarily, I guess based on what you're saying, comparatively, very fortunate, because we've been doing this for quite a while now, and so when I think of it that way, there stretches of many years in a row with the same personnel, and we did have a couple of cello switches. Oh, because Dorothy moved to New York,
right.
And then we
and
worked.
Who came after Dorothy?
Amanda Forsyth for their next recording, but then she immediately moved, and so
sure.
and but then when we were working with Jack Mendelsohn for about 5 years, and then Sharon Prater for 10.
Oh, and Sharon is still...
No, Sharon retired from the group.
But she's on the CD, right?
She is on many of our CDs, and she's the
on
cellist
the
for half of the... To finish the project, Amy Lang stepped in.
Okay.
But Amy then moved to Victoria for 1 year. And so Sybil Shanahan took over, and Sybil is our cellist now.
And your violin is
Erica
Beston. And how long has that been?
7 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So
and Marie was there for a long time before, and then Adele Arman, and for a long time, and so it was. You know, some groups don't last as long as some of our stretches.
How hectic a pace do you maintain, touring and concert-wise? Well, concert-wise and touring now, compared to, I imagine it's less now, or is it still the same?
You know, it varies.
Does it?
Sometimes it's more active. Sometimes it's a little less. But during those periods, there's always new programs being learned, or some recording project being worked on, and or more than one recording project at a time, and then sometimes in there's other solo work I'm doing, and so I'm and then I'm also active at the university. So
at York.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's really busy.
Yeah. So
and with the organization, I
coming back to where I started right at the beginning, I had noticed that March 27th you're doing a program at the Bradshaw Amphitheatre at the COC.
That's correct.
And then April 14 at the Gould. Is that the same program or a similar program or part of?
Well, I'd say part of.
Yeah.
The Richard Bradshaw Amphitheatre series will be a lot shorter.
Yeah, it's a much tighter
so we'll
format.
do elements from, in fact, we're calling it as a taste of Latin romance, whereas we'll get the full-fledged Latin romance.
And this is a perfect example, this concert, of core ensemble plus.
Here.
So
yes.
who are the pluses?
Well, Dave Young, who has worked with us a lot.
Is he calling himself? It's another joke around our office that when he has a bow in his hand, he's David Young, and when he's picking away, he's Dave. So is he Daving or Daviding in this one?
Mostly Daving.
Daving.
A tiny little bit of Daviding, but mostly Daving.
Mostly Daving. That's great. So Dave Young, and who else?
Norman Hathaway. He's playing violin and viola, but only in this program he's just making a couple of appearances, and he has joined us more extensively depending on the program and the repertoire. But so this is mostly the quartet.
And it's mostly a Piazzolla focused
we are going to feature some contrasting selections from that CD, from our Homage to Astor Piazzolla CD. But this is really more of a broad spectrum of Latin. We are including a wonderful work by the Venezuelan composer Aldemiro Romero, also arranged for us by Julian Labro. It's Fuga Camparagio, and we're doing some works by Ernesto Nazareth, as well as Camargo Guarnieri. And we're going to feature from, harken back to our 2-CD Music of Leroy Anderson compilation and play Serenata, which is a beautiful work in the Latin style, and it was the first, I guess, Latin style piece that Anderson wrote, and it's really fits perfectly with this and contrasting, and so it's a really luscious, beautiful, unique program.
So where does solo still fit in, speaking of Leroy Anderson, because that was your repertoire on one of your CDs was concerto.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to record Anderson's only concerto with the Toronto Symphony, and I also had a chance I was invited on the main stage concert series at Carnegie Hall.
To do that concerto for the Pops at Carnegie, right? New
York Pops in the main theater, hall, and it was sold out, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, it was great on many levels, not only to be there doing that, but Mrs. Leroy Anderson was there, and many celebrities were there, and it was just really well received, and that was in conjunction with that whole project, and they did a film actually where I was captured playing the third movement of it was a documentary on the life of Leroy Anderson.
So do you keep up a solo schedule?
I would say not to the degree anywhere near that I would if I were concentrating only on solo. The big passion for years and years has been the ensemble, but I do get asked to play concerti with orchestras here and there. I also have other things that I get invited to do which are soloistic. I will be working on solo piano music of Michael Coughlin, and Canadian composer, and we'll be collaborating with the Canadian singer Daniel Lichty, working on, and that's with some of Michael's works as an example of. There's many other examples I guess I can think of over the years and upcoming. So I guess I'm balancing both, but still very much so the ensemble.
And the
And
ensemble.
a new person that I've been working with a little bit is in the jazz world is Don Thompson.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh.
so, and he has been
Another
very
master bass, or working with him. Have you put together any keyboard plus keyboard yet?
piano and vibes.
Piano and vibes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But he really was taken with the Homage to Astor
Interesting.
Piazzolla recording, and
Lovely.
really liked my playing, and the
Yeah.
group's playing, of course, and really also became passionately interested in euterpe.
Yeah, which I noticed on your website, which is actually a really handy way for somebody like me to become an instant expert on anything. It's great in this day and age to be able, as long as you can remember things for 30 minutes, you can seem like you're really smart. So, but there was something really intriguing there. I noticed a quote on the website from Novalis, the quote, "Every illness is a musical problem." And I remember a different version of that from university days where it was, "Every illness is a scientific problem," which was another version in his own
Okay.
writing. But then I saw also euterpe, as you mentioned it, and I somehow thought that that quotation probably ties in with...
It does.
So what is euterpe about?
Well, euterpe is a not-for-profit musical organization which I founded and I am artistic director of. Norman Hathaway is the president of it. Mm-hmm. What we seek to do in euterpe is provide concerts in both the classical and jazz genres, played at the highest level for free. Mm-hmm. To get them out there. Well, I guess our principal focus is our youth, but it's certainly not limited to our youth. And to have people who wouldn't otherwise get the chance to come to concerts for numerous reasons, they're not exposed to it, never have been exposed to it, would like to be exposed to it, but don't have money, or just or have other restrictions, limitations, disadvantages. And unfortunately, nowadays there's far too many people that aren't exposed to music like this that can give the transformative effect.
So where do you take the music to?
Well, certainly schools, mm-hmm. but not limited to schools. Other venues where people come and are brought in, and targeted audiences. But it's not limited to targeted audiences. It's for everybody, like absolutely everyone, except that we always make sure there's quite a percentage
so
that's for
how
those
do
who
people
wouldn't come.
find you for it?
Well, I that's more, I guess, behind the scenes, which I'm not even totally part of that. And I do know that we do get requests, but there's people that say, oh, well, we want to have them come and play for our group of kids, or which could be several hundred kids or so. And then we actually have a wonderful little documentary that was prepared and by the York Film Department, and they are, and that's where I teach and am finishing a PhD, and it's a wonderful I guess little calling card for euterpe, and it will be on the official euterpe website, which is not yet quite ready, but will be. Okay, I would say very soon, in a couple of months.
I used to say to people, website at www, but the great God Google, all you have to do is type in euterpe Toronto and it'll tell you everything once it's there.
Once it's there.
One doesn't need
give us a
website
couple of
names
months.
anymore.
No, but it's
wow, so it's a lot on the go.
It's a lot, and but my dissertation for the PhD is very much so about the powerful healing effects of music on the human psyche, as well as the physiology of our species.
Which is where the Novalis connection is, but we'll have to leave that for another time.
For now, yeah, it's a big topic, isn't it?
Well, I'll hope to see you on the 27th at the Bradshaw, and if not, for sure on the 14th at the Gould. And thank you so much.
You will
for
come
coming
as our
in.
guest.
Thank you.
It'll be
and
a pleasure.
Thank you for being here, guys. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, David. It was lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.